How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. Today I'm going to talk about balancing frugality and actually living life. Now on this channel, you see me go through a lot of different ways to save money, and even myself, that I spend very little money on everything else. I try to cut on almost everything, including my utilities, the amount that I pay for my housing costs, electricity, using minimal amount of water, all kinds of things, including using a less than premium cell phone plan, not buying all kinds of new clothes, not buying all the latest and greatest gadgets. I kind of skip all of that. So what disheartens me is sometimes when I meet subscribers, I can just kind of get the sense that they are super duper frugal. That is what attracted them to my channel. And these people can see me demonstrate that I can be frugal and yet be relatively happy at the same time. But more often than not, sometimes when I look at how frugal it is, like it's a little bit too frugal, and then I feel like, oh my gosh, have I been sort of conveying the wrong thing? Because I might be leading people down the wrong path. Because if you go around penny pinching everywhere, I feel like eventually it's going to affect other parts of your life. Yes, your bank account's going to grow really fast, and a lot of people are really happy about it. They come to me and go, oh my gosh, I saved so and so much money. But what I personally realize is that if you pinch too hard, your social standing will just start to erode a little bit. I do think extreme frugality could harm your relationship. For example, let's say you go out to movie theaters and then you go out with other people. I guess maybe they're very used to just going out to the theaters and just, buying concessions or whatever. And then if you go around bringing your drinks, sneaking your food or something into the theater, and you are just kind of like a standout person. Believe me, I've done this before. You are going to sort of stand out against everybody else. So I say this as a sort of warning for everybody, so you don't go around losing those set of friends, because when I did that, I felt like I lost that set of friends. And this is kind of like, from me to you, as kind of like a friend type of thing, because from what I learned, I want to like tell you what I know so that you don't fall into the same kind of traps that I did. So you can kind of tell how frugal I became by spending only $1,350 every single month. This is without electronics and without traveling. If you add electronics and traveling together, it might come out to be like $22,000 to $25,000. And this is really, really low for most people. So I do have to admit that in my pursuit, especially after I became a YouTuber, I just kind of went a little bit nuts in terms of extreme frugality. Not as extreme as those people on Extreme Cheapskates, right? But I still feel like this kind of going down the rabbit hole, you kind of go, oh my gosh, I saved so much. How can I save some more? So you just go back to the drawing board and go, okay, let me cut here, cut there, cut there. And then when you only have this one-track mind, this tunnel vision of I want to save as much as possible, you start cutting in various ways, and you don't realize that these different ways may actually harm your relationship with friends and family. Now, I would say even if you harm your relationship with family, sometimes you're stuck with them. They just go, oh my gosh, this guy, he's just so cheap. Okay, maybe he goes up and down in terms of cheapness. But I feel like sometimes if you just make these kind of mistakes with friends, and as soon as you sort of get categorized into this, oh my gosh, this person is super duper cheap even with their friends, then you're gonna, I guess, get left out. So if it's not obvious already, I think most people that you kind of know, they are not extremely frugal. If you are a frugal type of person and you only want to hang around other frugal people, then this is going to limit your social network kind of, because most people are not extremely frugal or even really frugal. Most people are just keeping up with the Joneses. They're just living pretty typically, right? They don't have this financial independence, retire early type of mind track. But sometimes you still have those kind of friends. You have a set of friends that are not super duper frugal and not trying to retire very early. And then you have other friends that might be also frugal, and then you can, just go all out very, very frugal with everyone else. For those that just kind of went down the wrong path and you're just cutting left and right, and if your friends are asking you out, oh, let's go so-and-so, and then you're like, nah, you know what? It's a little bit too far. I don't want to drive over there. I don't want to go to that restaurant because it's too expensive. The thing is, there's a certain price to pay if you want to connect with most people. Yes, You might have some friends that are like very, very spendy. Every single night that you spend with them might be like $100 or $200. You just have to sit down and go, okay, do I want to keep those kind of friends where you do have to spend a lot every single time you hang out with them? Or, do you want to just go, okay, I'm okay if they're not in my life. I have a whole bunch of other people that are more frugal, that are, more in line with the same mindset that you have in terms of finances. When you have a friendship, you have to think of it in terms of like a roughly equal exchange of value. If, let's say, they treated you dinner, right? Then it's almost expected that you have to treat them somewhat equal in value type of dinner. You don't go have them treat you to like a $25 per person thing and then you just go buy them McDonald's or something. So this doesn't count. It needs to be roughly equivalent. And, if you always go under, then that's also not good either. So the value, don't try to like undercut it a little bit. Friendship is more of like an equal exchange. But I do think sometimes if you feel generous, yeah, you can give a little bit more. And sometimes, it's probably good to, take the first step to be a little bit generous first. On the other hand, you definitely don't want to be always generous, because then you don't know if they are your true friends or not. Because if you are the one always paying for everyone, right? You always buy everyone dinner. You don't know if they just want to hang out with you just because you're able to pay for their dinner. I feel like this might actually be very obvious to some people, but from what I can assume, I can only assume this, and I probably fell into the same trap, right? Sometimes when you get into this extremely frugal mode, you just look at everything. You just look at the price tag of everything, right? If you are only spending like $1 on your meal, and then you look at some $20 meal, you kind of like cringe on that, right? So I think the way to avoid this extreme frugal trap is you really want to fit in with people, right? If people are not bringing their own drinks or something to the theater, you probably might want to lay that off unless you're going with some other people that agrees with you, and then you can, just do the same thing, bring your own candies or something. And on top of this, it's probably good to have a socializing fund. I don't know how much your budget would be, but I guess normal budget for the Bay Area, you might do something between $200 and $500 every month, right? You need some sort of budget for going to dinners. You have some sort of event that you want to go to. You got to buy tickets and stuff. So all of this adds up. It's going to eat into how much you actually save. This is going to go against your extreme frugality, where you want to save as much as possible, as fast as possible, and quit your job as soon as possible, right? So here's a fallacy over here for extreme frugality, because if you push it so hard and you get there, you might just kind of get there alone, because in the act of being super frugal, you might just alien everybody around you. So I think I have to admit, whatever strategy I had might be a little bit wrong, because I might not have made a video about the balance between extreme frugality or just frugality, right, and actually living your life. I did not stress this part enough, and maybe some people might have just went down this rabbit hole, went down the wrong path, and just kind of pressed super duper hard in terms of being really, really frugal. Right now, especially with the FIRE movement, people are just so on top of this, right? They're trying to pinch pennies left and right. And you have to really pick and choose how to pinch your pennies. A good balance is if you're doing this in the comfort of your own home and no one really knows about this, right? And then outside, when you interface with other people, you appear to be pretty normal. You don't have to wear designer jeans or anything. You can just, look decent, clean, and then you can still go out with people, go grab a beer, instead of just rejecting everyone because you don't want to spend any money on buying beers or going out to lunch. So my initial theory with all of this was actually, okay, you want to get to FIRE as fast as possible. So you just save like a crazy person. And I believe I've said this before. Save like a crazy person, get to financial independence first, retire early first, and then once you're there, then you can let off a little bit and just kind of increase your standard of living a little bit at a time until you are more and more comfortable. But in reality, I think I might have pushed it a little bit too hard myself. Reaching financial independence takes a long time. It might take years, 5 years, 6 years. So if you're living very miserly, and I want to define this from the dictionary, because when I looked at that word, I'm like, I gotta look it up. Here's a definition: a person who live in wretched circumstances in order to save and hoard money. I've seen this when I met some of my subscribers. When I talk to them about their circumstances, sometimes whatever circumstances they live. I don't want to point out anybody, but there are a few. I sense that their circumstances is a bit wretched because they're just pushing themselves so much. They're like, oh, I eat this and this, it just sounds wretched, okay? Or the proper word is miserly. And I feel like this is exchanging too much of your standard of living in order to get to your financial independence faster. There is a balance between pushing very hard and living, you only live once type of thing. So where do you find a balance? I feel like you can find a balance as long as you try to keep your social connections. You can push hard by yourself all you want, but then when it comes to interfacing with other people, your friends, family, you might have to make it so that they do not even realize that you are very frugal. Maybe only when they come to your house, they're like, oh my gosh, how come you don't have any furniture? How come, you don't turn on the heat or something? But, when your guest comes over, you do need to turn on the heat, right? So think about this. Being like a stealth frugal person, okay? No one else knows that you are frugal. No one else knows that you are trying to become financially independent, retire early or anything. So go out with your coworkers once a week. I think that's a very manageable amount of time to go to. Skip the $200 per night outings. I feel like those kind of spendy people, it's just way too spendy. It's just not worth it, because if you do this once every other week, it might just derail you off your financial independence path. So here's just a reminder that, yeah, I make a lot of videos about being frugal, but it might be a good thing to go on a stealth frugal thing, right? Do it so that people won't realize that you are frugal. Thanks for watching, everybody. And this video, it comes from my heart to you guys, and because I don't want you guys to suffer in terms of some of the friends I lost because I was too frugal. I just kind of slipped up, and I guess what I personally do in terms of testing myself, right? I push myself to the limit, and then I go, oh my gosh, this doesn't work. So I let off a little bit. I come back a little bit. So because of my experience, I went a little bit too far. I'm here to warn you guys. Don't go too far with this. Don't forget to give me a like on this video. Comment down below. Let me know what you think of finding a balance. And I know if you guys are pushing a little bit too far in frugality, let me know if you're getting a little bit influenced by this video. Let off a little bit being too frugal. And as always, don't forget to push that subscribe button and ring that bell icon. Thanks for watching.